Everyone, and welcome to the Winnetka Village Council regular meeting for February 18th, 2025. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Ask everybody to mute your cell phones and other electronic devices, and I will ask Rob to do a roll call for attendance.
Thank you. Trustee Orsic?
Present.
Trustee Handler?
Here.
Trustee Dearborn? Here. Trustee Albinson?
Here.
Trustee Dahlman?
Here.
Trustee Apatow?
Here.
President Rintz.
Here. Okay, Trustee Apatow has provided the required notice that he is unable to attend tonight's meeting due to work obligations. Our rules provide that Trustee Apatow may participate remotely unless 2/3 of the board objects. Is there any objection? Hearing none, lost my place. Hearing none, Trustee Apatow may now participate remotely, fully in the public and closed session meetings, and the minutes should so reflect. Okay, item 2 is the Pledge of Allegiance. I've asked Trustee Orsic to lead us this evening. Okay, quorum, check.
Okay. The month of March, the 4th, the 11th, and the 18th, are there any conflicts?
I will be remote on the 4th, but I'll.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
I'll be away on the 18th for work with
Okay.
not able to log in.
Okay. Anybody else?
You're Rob, I may be remote on the 4th too, it's not sure yet.
He's okay. I'm sure you'll be in touch. Okay, thank you.
Okay, well, we should turn him up anyway. Hey, Rob, can you talk once? Apatow?
I'm sorry,
Testing 1, 2, 3.
can you hear me?
Hold on, we can't hear you.
Any better? I can hear you fine.
But we can't move forward while Kristen is doing this because the next item is public comment. This is the time of the evening when anyone in the audience may address Village Council on items that are not on the agenda. So if you're here for either of the 2 items that are on the agenda, the North Shore Boards or the Music Fest, then come on up. And we have Ted who signed up to speak.
Hello, Ted Winchenko. So yeah, I wanted to just touch base. You know, there's so many things that go on. Kind of feel like it's a little microcosm of like the federal government right now. So many changes, so many things. So I can't speak on all of them, but there's something that I wanted to reiterate because I realized that when I made these comments a couple study sessions ago, I feel like no one's ever going to do anything. And I really think that someone should. So when you guys were talking about stormwater, and this came up back in 2011 when we were working with Steve Saunders and trying to get our rainwater harvesting system approved and the rules about how we would have to detain water and how it would have to be held onto and discharged. And as I pointed out last time, and I've pointed out in the past, you know, the plan that the engineer came up with wasn't approvable because it would have caused clogs, and eventually, you know, the plan that they would have approved would have turned the yard into a funnel that would have decreased, not increased, the time of concentration. And if you know, flooding is a flow issue, the time and all that stuff, and by turning our yard into a funnel and dumping that water into the storm sewer would have made things worse. And that, in my opinion, is what has been going on, not intentionally, but that's what's been going on since the engineering plans were approved back in like the 1990s. And we have an opportunity now to ask people that really know what they're talking about to look at this part of the stormwater problem. Whether or not the requirements that people detain the difference between what was there and what they're building and how they detain it is whether it's actually helping, or in my belief, whether 20 years of this policy has only served to worsen stormwater and flooding issues in the most vulnerable parts of Winnetka. And so I mentioned this a couple weeks ago, and I realized that I've mentioned this a decade ago, and it seems that no one's ever looked into it. And so all I'm asking is, we have consultants. At one point, I actually called like one of the engineering firms and asked them if they could like look into this for me, if I would pay them directly. They were like very, very much like, oh, we're a client, the village is our client, we can't, blah, blah, blah. So all I'm asking is, can they please look at the engineering guidelines? Tell us whether or not this thing that was done for good reasons, with good intent, whether or not it has really served us or whether it's only contributing to the problem. Specifically, what I mean is this idea that people have to detain or funnel water, and the limits and how that affects whether or not any real detention happens. That's all. And so I wanted to bring this up again. There's lots of other things I need to talk about, but 3 minutes is up, and you gotta kind of pace yourself.
And we will close public comment and move forward with reports. Start off with the trustees. Tina?
No report.
Kirk? No report. Bob?
Not an official report, but just a couple of comments. And tonight we have some good things on the agenda, some happy things on the agenda. Oftentimes we don't, so it's kind of nice to highlight some happy things that happen day to day. And I'm glad that our friends from the Park District are here, because I want to say that on Saturday morning, I was out on the Green Bay Trail, which they're responsible for plowing, and that trail was plowed after that snowstorm. And I got up to Scott Street, went in north to the next village, no plowing whatsoever. Winnetka was totally plowed. So thank you for that. That was fantastic. And people were enjoying it, by the way. So that was really great. The other thing I wanted to mention was we were out Friday night up in Hubbard Woods visiting one of our favorite Italian restaurants, and parked in the parking garage, which was beautifully lit. I mean, we've talked about that garage, and it's kind of a sore spot. It doesn't look very good inside, but it was really well lit, and every spot was taken. And so I know that we have some work on the agenda here this year in the parking garage, but that was definitely being used, and it's the first time I've really been up there where it's been full. I mean, and there were cars having to leave because they couldn't get a spot. So I was really happy about that. So those are my two feel-good items, Chris.
Thanks. Hopefully it's a tradition you'll continue with, Bob.
Perhaps we will.
Kim?
No report tonight, thank you.
Bridget?
No report.
Rob?
No report tonight.
Okay. It's not going to work, is it?
I'll hold up a sign.
Village manager? I'm sorry.
No report this evening.
And village president, just briefly, I attended a meeting today with Congressman Brad Schneider regarding all of these actions taken by Doge. And there aren't a lot of good answers. There aren't any answers right now. And of course, he is a Democratic congressman, but there's a lot of concern on both sides of the aisle where this is going and where the funding issues are going to be impacted. They couldn't give us any solid information, but it was worthwhile to listen. I asked about FEMA because of the previous comments, but couldn't get much of a response on that. So more to come, I'm sure. Okay, then item 6 this evening is the establishment of the consent agenda. Does any trustee wish to remove any other item on the consent agenda for a separate vote? Seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the final form of the consent agenda?
So moved.
Second,
And that's a voice vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries. We'll now move forward with the approval of the consent agenda, and I'll ask Rob to read those items.
Thank you. Approval of the Village Council minutes for the January 21st, 2025 regular meeting and February 4th, 2025 regular meeting. Approval of the warrant list dated January 31st, 2025 through February 13th, 2025 in the amount of $331,157.01. Resolution number R15, 2025, approving an agreement with A-Lamp Concrete Contractors for the 2025 Street Rehabilitation and Public Improvement Project. Resolution number R17, 2025, awarding a contract to Schroeder & Schroeder Incorporated for the 2025 through 2027 Sidewalk and Curb Replacement Program. And resolution number R20, 2025, approving change order number 2 to the contract with DeMeo Brothers Incorporated for construction services for the Crow Island Stormwater Storage and Conveyance Project.
Great, thanks, Rob. All right, may I have a motion to approve the consent agenda by omnibus vote?
So moved.
Second?
That's a roll call vote.
Trustee Alvinson?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
Trustee Apatoff? Okay. Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Motion carries, thank you. All right, item 8 this evening is ordinances and resolutions. Resolution number R18, 2025, approving non-exclusive license agreement for the use of the Winnetka property for the Winnetka Music Fest. This is up for adoption. Tonight, council will consider an agreement between the village and the Winnetka Northfield Glencoe Chamber of Commerce for the use of the village property regarding the 2025 Music Festival. And Scott's here to present.
Great. So happy to be presenting again with Terry and Mark here also. I will move through this relatively quickly, given the fact that you've got the material in front of you. And to a great extent, nothing has changed this year. The Music Fest, as you know, is entering its 9th year, and I think continues to be one of the outstanding anchor events here in the village of Winnetka. So we are happy to be continuing it. Let me just try and manage the slides here and go backwards now. So okay, so now I want to go back one slide. There we go, and now I can go forward. Okay, there we go. The fest continues to be in the same location, or will continue to be in the same location it's been the last many years. I think one of the questions that we had, and that some of you might have, is what's going to happen with One Winnetka Construction. We had a lengthy meeting today with representatives from Village, both public safety as well as public works and electrical, as well as the representatives from the developer, going over their plans, our plans, and how everything is going to fit together this year. I think we've got a pretty solid plan on how to make things work this year in the existing footprint as well as the existing the previous layout. Things may change next year a little bit as it nears completion, but we'll deal with that. We'll deal with that next year. In terms of the support, it's pretty much the same as it has been the previous years. Coordination, obviously, with both economic development, public safety, public works, electric folks. It's been obviously a great partnership, and the only way that the festival can sustain itself is through that partnership. So we appreciate it, and if you're ready to do it again, we're ready to do it again. So I don't know how many more times I can say that, but at least this year. Questions?
Questions for Scott? We're not very curious tonight, Scott.
I was going to say, I'm happy. I'm sorry I can't see Rob's face, but anyways, okay,
He's
thank
giving
you.
the thumbs
Thanks.
up, so thanks. Thank you. Liz, were you supposed to be up there too? No, I'm next. Oh, you're next. Oh, I see you down here. Thank you. Okay. I guess we have a resolution here. May I have, there's no questions or comments. How about public statements on this issue? Seeing none, I'll close public comment and we'll bring it back up here. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number R18, 2025?
So moved.
Second.
That's a roll call vote.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
Trustee Handler?
I abstain, given my
Okay.
relationship with
Yep.
the fest.
Thank you. Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Apatoff?
Motion carries. Thank you. Now it's Liz's turn. This is resolution number R19, 2025, approving a temporary occupancy agreement with North Shore Boards for use of 754 Elm Street for a pop-up retail store. This is up for adoption. Tonight, council will consider approving an agreement permitting a pop-up North Shore Boards to operate at the Elm Street Metro Station. Now Liz is up here to present.
I'm here. Thank you. Thank you, President Rintz. Good evening, everyone. As President said, tonight the Village Council will consider introduction of the approval of a temporary occupancy agreement with North Shore Boards at the Elm Street train station. The Village of Winnetka has an agreement with Union Pacific Railroad to manage the Elm Street train station. This includes an 800 square foot space in the south portion of the station, which is highlighted in green on the screen. The space is divided into 3 rooms. There are 2 200 square foot rooms facing west toward the parking lot, and 1 400 square foot room facing east over the train tracks. The space that North Shore Boards is interested in renting for their pop-up is one of the front 200 square foot rooms, highlighted in yellow. From 1965 to 2021, the village leased the entire 800 square foot space to Zengler Cleaners. The cleaners closed this location in February 2021 after low sales due to the COVID-19 pandemic. In 2022, the Village Council signed a license agreement with the Winnetka Northfield Glencoe Chamber of Commerce for use of the space for storage for the Winnetka Farmers Market when the market relocated from the Village Hall parking lot across the street to the Elm Street train station parking lot and Station Park. Village Council renewed the license agreement in 2023 and 2024, and the proposed 2025 agreement for this space runs from May 15th to October 25th and is slated on the consent agenda for the March 4th council meeting. The chamber does not use this space in the off-season between November and mid-May. And we know commuters have returned at least 3 days a week to nearly pre-COVID levels. Hofer Meat is slated to open in the adjacent commercial space next month, and the village staff has started thinking creatively about how we can keep bringing additional foot traffic to the station. I've been working with Winnetka resident and business owner Tim Ring since 2024 when he opened North Shore Boards as a weekly vendor at the Winnetka Farmers Market. His business quickly grew a local following for the high-quality surfboards, snowboards, and skateboards he sells. He's participated in local craft fairs and holiday markets, and he's gotten feedback that there is definitely a market for this in the North Shore. Before investing in the expense of a brick and mortar shop in Winnetka, he wants to open a pop-up to keep growing the business. Last summer and fall, I connected Mr. Ring to property owners to find a space, but nothing materialized for him. The village's success in filling vacant commercial spaces means there's far fewer options for pop-ups to open. So we put 2 and 2 together. We're connecting a very interested and driven local entrepreneur who wants to open a retail pop-up with an underutilized space. This past November, the village hosted a preliminary walkthrough of this 200 square foot space with Mr. Ring and village staff, and included Rocky Flinterman from the Chamber of Commerce, who's our market manager. We answered questions about operations and safety planning and occupying a portion of the space that the chamber would use later that spring. The village is proposing an 86-day temporary occupancy agreement with North Shore Boards from February 18th to May 15th at the rate of $300 per month. Pop-up agreements in the village are to last no more than 90 days for a calendar year. The agreement ends on the day the chamber's proposed license agreement for the space begins. Mr. Ring has proposed to do some cosmetic improvements to the space, including painting and cleaning. He and his employees would receive Zone A parking permits, just like Hofer and the chamber. The curb in front of the station is signed as 5-minute only parking, and the space is long enough to accommodate multiple cars during morning and evening commuter pickups and drop-offs, and the traffic anticipated from Hofer Meats. Mr. Ring is anticipating that there's going to be much more foot traffic for his business during the weekends than the weekdays, when there's a lot more parking available. There is additional customer parking on Lincoln Avenue, with access over the commuter bridge and parking along Green Bay Road in front of the station. With that, I'll turn it over to Tim Ring. He'll tell you more about what he wants to sell and why he wants to open the pop-up here.
Good evening, everybody. Before I get started, I would first like to say, Liz, thank you very much. Having this asset within the the community is fantastic. I'm a regular 9-to-5 guy, but this is a new venture for me, and having Liz's guidance and help and assistance is fantastic. So I want that on the record for sure. So as Liz said, my name is Tim Ring. I've been a resident here since 2013. Very early on when we were buying, or went down to the Park District to pick up beach passes, I asked the person giving me the beach pass, how come we don't have a pool? And they said, we're a beach community. And I said, you know what, you're right, we are a beach community. And at that time, I'm an East Coast guy, spent lots of times at the beach, more salt water. We've utilized the beaches here in Winnetka all 13 or 12 years that we've been here. They've gone from the state that they were in to where they are now. And I again, give you all credit as well as the Park District for bringing them to the level that they're at now. And we still have some things going on. But a couple of years ago when I went down to Lloyd, I'm like, wow, this is it. This is where people are going to hang out, bringing people here. Anyway, fast forward to last year, as I said, I'm an East Coast guy. I've been around surf, skating, snow, and I'm like, how come we don't have that here in Winnetka? We had Fritz here a few years ago, but that was kind of a lot of everything, not really, focused. So I said to myself and to my wife, I said, Winnetka needs a board shop. And she said, we don't need one, you want one. And I said, okay, the difference is marginal, but yes. So, envision a surf shop, a board shop, paddle boards. We've got the lake a half a mile that way. It's underutilized. Let's get people out there. Longboard, skateboards, snowboards, balance boards, just that kind of fun vibe that people like. T-shirts, hats, active wear, eventually to get there. But so thus started North Shore Boards. I've wanted to be here in Winnetka since that's where we're living, but it's tough. The real estate market is tough. It's super high, and it's also not, it's timing as well. If people are leaving, there's about 3 or 4 people behind them already in line. So with that, in working with Liz, the idea of a pop-up came up. And I also think the idea of this facility or this room, could be used in the future for, future, entrepreneurs as an incubator, or, between them, when they're using the farmers market is using it, it could be used for other pop-ups. I'm sure there are other Tim Rings out there who want the use of the space. So the idea would be a board shop selling paddle boards and water sports, skateboards, hats, Winnetka branded items. We started in June this year at the farmers market with a kind of a wing and a prayer, and it was great. People are coming up. Where are you? Where's your shop? We're this is it right now. So we're trying to take the next leap. So I'm open for questions. I'm not going to go through the slide, but it just talks about what we're looking at. And at the end of the day, I'm really looking for the last paragraph, a sense of community. We're locally owned and operated. I mean, I want to engage with the community, with the Park District, with the village. It's a great spot. It's a great community, and I just want to try to bring a little bit of fun and a little bit of something different to the community. So with that, if I haven't, answered anybody's, question, if you have a question, I'd be more than happy to ask that. I don't want to talk too long. I told Liz I could do 2 minutes or 20 minutes, so I want to keep it in between there someplace.
Good. All right, does anybody have any questions for Tim? Comments? Sure. Well, thank you, Tim.
No problem. Do I sit? say
Come on
here.
up, Rocky. Public, this is now pub.
In the opening video that we showed the old Zengler, I'm sorry. That we showed the old Zengler awning. Will that be installed?
No. That was context to show what was there.
For 300
Right now,
bucks
we.
a- For $300 a month, you
Right
want
now, we
TI?
don't have a plan to reinstall an awning.
I know.
Rocky's forward thinking. Thank you, Rocky, for paying attention to detail.
So there will not be a change in the awning.
Correct. There is no awning right now, and Tim doesn't plan on putting an awning up. Do you want to talk about what plans you have for some kind of signage?
Well, right now, we talked with the village about signage, and we haven't come to anything. It would be great to have a sign, but I understand that I'm only there for 90 days, so there's not going to be a lot of heavy investment in signage and redoing the place. I'd like to get it to a point that, it's acceptable and people will come in, but I'm going to do more of a social media, marketing, letting people know that it's there than actual, signage and things along those lines.
Sure.
Again, because it's pop-up, temporary.
Right, and what's allowable is we'll work with the community development department, and he'll be able to put up a window sign. We're not looking at installing something that would be permanent, that would need design review approval, so.
Any others from the audience like to speak on this? Seeing none, we'll bring it back up here. Kim?
Well, first, Liz, I have to say props to you because just like with the Hofer meet, that you're always looking out for creative solutions to best utilizing our space and bringing great businesses to town. And Mr. Ring, I mean, certainly this is a newer concept. I'm glad you tested at the farmer's market. I think a pop-up is the perfect way to see how you could take it to the next level potentially. I think it's a great idea.
Thank you.
Others?
I also think it's a great idea. I think we'll probably see a lot more skateboards. But this is fun. It's got the right Winnetka vibe. I like the Winnetka merchandise. It's great. And I do think make sure you have some signage so that people walking by know that you're there too. So.
Anybody over here?
I would only say that Tim is a very modest person because he didn't state his main attribute in life. He's a volunteer member of the Environmental and Forestry Commission. And a fantastic member.
I didn't want to cross any wires.
And it doesn't get bigger than that, Tim, so. Thank you, this is great. Really happy about this.
I'll just add, great opportunity to help promote the village small business.
Thank you.
Super excited about it.
Yeah, and the only thing I would just say is this is fantastic to help activate that area. I think, the more we can do to bring activity to the train station during the weekend is really great. And I also want to say, as you probably know, those hats with Winnetka, WNTKA, are probably going to be the rage for every girl going to college this year. So
We sold a lot of them this summer.
yeah, you better
actually.
stock up.
Right.
I know you
Thanks.
sold them a lot this summer. So thank you.
No
Yeah,
problem.
thanks, Tim. Yeah, I'll give you a little hope for the future. I used to be a board sport guy, and I had my office in Skokie for many, many years ago. And I watched a little shop open up there that was about maybe not too much bigger than what you're renting here. It's called the Shred Shop. And that thing expanded into the most amazing operation, but it started very small, and the guys were just snowboarders who were just serving a few people, and the next thing you know, it was the whole thing, just like you. And they have an amazing facility and have done a great job. So there's a market out there, and I think much to what I heard earlier that skateboards are probably going to be the big rage here.
Yeah, well, and I'm glad you brought that up. The idea of a board shop, I envision it a little bit different. This isn't, you think of kids and skateboards, and it's never, it's not a rainbow. It's a. So what we're looking at is more of the longboards for transportation. You know, yes, we do sell skateboards, but it's not the, I don't want to use the word skate punk, but that's, you know, that kind of mentality. It's a little bit different than that. And I know where I am, and I know, you know, the neighborhood. We'll keep it in check. You know, we'll make sure to remind our customers who we are and where we are and what we expect of them.
Just put a grind rail in the park and everybody will be happy.
Well, isn't there some availability of the old post office spot?
Good,
I mean,
you
isn't
never
there
know.
skate park? Right, okay.
Good.
I told Liz there's a lot of people that talk themselves out of sales a lot, so.
Okay. All right, I'd like to bring this up for a vote then. May I have a motion to adopt resolution number R19, 2025?
So moved.
Second?
And that's a roll call vote.
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Orsic?
Yes.
Trustee Apatoff?
Yes.
Hey.
Hey,
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
motion carries. Thank you. And thanks, Tim. Good luck.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, moving forward, old business none, new business none, appointments none, closed session. I would like to ask for a motion to adjourn to closed session for the purpose of discussing collective bargaining, security procedures, and municipal utility contracts pursuant to 2C2, 2C8, and 2C23, respectively, of the Open Meetings Act. Under the motion, when we adjourn the closed session, this public meeting will automatically and immediately adjourn without the conduct of any further business or comments. May I have that motion?
So moved.
So moved. Second, sorry.
That's a roll call vote?
Trustee Handler?
Yes.
Trustee Dahlman?
Yes.
Trustee Albinson?
Yes.
Trustee Dearborn?
Yes.
Trustee Apatoff?
Yes.
Trustee Orsic?
Motion carries. Thank you.
That's her screen saver.
No, that's nice.